Everybody, and welcome to my in-depth review of Marilyn Manson's latest album, One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1. So let's get straight into it with the opener track and also the title track, One Assassination Under God. Immediately, the king is back, without question. I don't think there could have been a better way to open this album, let alone just to show people that, hey, I'm back and I mean it. Like, this song is so good. And he really just proves like he is here to not only keep his crown, but reclaim his throne. Like, he is taking no prisoners with this song at all, in my opinion. As soon as I hear it, or I heard it rather, I immediately got Hollywood vibes from like God Eat God. It just sounded like a much more flushed out version of God Eat God that really takes you for a ride. Like, it's an unbelievably powerful opener to the album, and it quickly cemented itself as my favorite on the album. This song, without a doubt, like that chorus, the hook is so good. The lyrics in this song too are fantastic. I really loved things like he'd say stuff like "You will always be entertained." I interpreted that like, there's two different sides to that. He's talking to us, his fans, but then he's also talking to the media and everybody else who is just out there, just he causes mayhem. It's the Antichrist superstar. That is his spectacle. That is his shock rocker status. And we as fans will enjoy his music. The media, in a sense, will get the entertainment from, showing off the spectacle that is Marilyn Manson. And then you've got other things like everybody showed up for the execution, but nobody would show their face. It's such a great abstract way, and not even abstract way, but it's just another nice way of saying the exact same thing that social media has become, where it's just this gigantic cesspool of everyone can say anything and everything without any repercussion, but these will be the same people who are too much of a wimp to say it to your face. Who was it? I think it was Mike Tyson said something something along the lines of everyone got way too comfortable to talking shit to each other in person without the fear of getting punched. Something along those lines. That's basically what this song kind of gives off to me as well. Everyone showed up to basically just, sacrifice him, the execution. Like you said, everyone showed up for the hanging after accusations and all that stuff came out against him. And, none of these people would ever show their face against him either, or to him rather. Shoot you in the back of the head and call it sacrifice. They don't even deserve to say your name. Pretty much just calling these people out, saying like, you're nothing to me. You're not even worth my time, how can you even argue with them at that point? Because everyone's opinions are just floating around on the internet all the time. I can't necessarily blame them for saying something like that. But this song in particular is just, it's so good. The hook, the lyrics, like as an opener to an album, this really makes you understand, like, he's back, and there's no, like, he's not joking around. It's been a while, but he is back. Song 2, No Funeral Without Applause. This one kept the Hollywood vibes and the influences going. Definitely felt like a song that could have been on Hollywood. You get lyrics like, just a little cut to make it all feel better. There's so many from what it used to be. You're the only thing in this fucking world that can fill this hole inside of me. It's this interesting dichotomy that inner conflict that he's going off of, or at least how I interpreted this, because this is a man who is coming to terms with, I wouldn't say coming to terms with, but he's fighting with the urge to become the Antichrist. Superstar again. Like that persona, that person and the scars are so familiar, but it's the only thing that makes him feel whole when he's there. It hurts him to do it, but it's the only time that he feels like he's himself, which is really a really, really dark place to find yourself because, clearly he didn't want to be the Antichrist superstar anymore. We saw that with a lot of the difference, after Hollywood, there was a drastic change between Golden Age and then on all the way on to what was it? We Are Chaos even. Like there's a massive, massive difference between his first, well, I wouldn't say his first three, but his big three albums with Antichrist Superstar, Mechanical Animals, and Hollywood. But again, it's something he's just trying to figure out whether or not he actually is what the costume says he is, or if he's somebody else who's just a puppet for the costume or the persona. It's almost like what is it? Double personality or dual personality? It's just like this other version of himself that comes to the forefront when he becomes the Antichrist superstar. Like the song almost feels like a harrowing kind of revelation that he has to come to terms with after trying to be anything else besides Manson, really. I mean, yeah, he can be himself, like Brian, but there are quirks to Brian, there are faults to Brian, whereas Manson is unapologetic. He can be anything and he can do anything. It's essentially a mask, a facade to cover up the person behind the facade. But it's the saying of don't wear the mask for too long, you'll forget who's beneath it kind of situation. Going on to song number 3, Not If You Understand. This song really, really gave me Little Horn vibes from Antichrist Superstar. It's so much like the influence just comes to the forefront with that era of Manson's music. It was so aggressive, so I don't want to say, I'd say dirty instead. It was messy. It was, it's like old school Korn almost, where it was just, their guitars weren't always 100% in tune. It was just muddy, messy, chaotic. But it worked so well. This one's not so much like that. It's definitely obviously modernized production and things of that nature. And it's a little bit more, I shouldn't say a little bit more. It's more polished than that era of his music was. But it's a more refined version of that sound overall. You got lyrics that he says along the lines of, look at yourself for someone to blame. You're the only one who should be ashamed. Like this song to me just feels like one enormous call out to society as a whole. Like, basically it's just him saying he wants to watch the world burn as Manson and as the Antichrist superstar. Like at the end of the day, you are the ones who made this happen. You poked the bear so many times. You really want this? Okay, here it is. You're the only ones who should be blamed for this at this point, and you should feel sorry for it because you had your chance, you blew it kind of situation. And what I like about this, at least this interpretation that I have of this song, is the name of the song itself. That it's a strong statement that can be taken literally, like if you read that, because it's like, nod your head if you understand, or like, nod if you understand. Are you even listening to what I'm saying? And like Manson saying, like, are you listening to what I'm actually saying to you? Because if you were, then you'd understand my music, you'd understand this song, you'd understand everything about me. But if you don't, and you just look at me at face value, then clearly you will never understand. Now, that can go back to the whole thing with the conservative ties with religion and all that other stuff back in like the late 90s, or just the 90s in general, early 2000s. But strictly speaking, in today, like with this song, like nod your head if you agree, or nod your head if you understand, my bad. Um, I interpret that as like, are you even listening to what I'm saying? Which I think gives the song an extra depth to it that really makes even you as the listener question, like, have I really been listening to what he's saying? Because I mean, at the end of the day, interpretations are subjective. Because unless there's somebody who, unless he comes out and says like strictly, this is what this song is about, I don't know what this song's entirely about. I'm just getting my own interpretation of this. I could be completely wrong. But that's exactly what points out this question. Like, do I actually even understand what he's saying, even from my own interpretation? Because if my interpretation is wrong, and this was meant to be just a straight down, like, this is the answer, that's the answer, then I didn't understand it. So it kind of makes me think of like, okay, am I really understanding what he's actually saying in general, not just with this song, but with all of his discography? Um, but it's a really, really, really great song that it keeps you engaged, and it keeps you honestly just wanting to listen to the rest of the album. While I wouldn't say it necessarily stands out as a like a single or of that nature, as like a highlight of the album, in my opinion, it is definitely something that is necessary to the work as a whole. It fits the spot, and it does its job really well. Um, as sick as The Secrets Within, the first single that this man released in 4 years. Oh my god. As this is another one of my favorites off of this album. It is such a great song. When I heard this, I kind of almost did the SpongeBob meme of "We're saved, we're saved." Like, and that's not to say that I disliked his previous work from, and from stuff between Golden Age and We Are Chaos. I really enjoyed We Are Chaos. I'm probably in the minority on that one, maybe not, I don't know. But I thoroughly enjoyed We Are Chaos, even though it was a drastic difference from a lot of his work. The Pale Emperor, Heaven Upside Down, like those 3 albums I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought he was hitting his stride again. With those 3, that like trilogy almost, it kind of feels like to me. But this song, it like, when this song came out, I was smiling ear to ear for probably an entire day. This just, it hit and it scratched that Manson itch that I had been having for like such a long time. And I was just so excited. It's one of the strongest examples, I think, that this album has, proving that this album, or even these songs, some of these songs on there, are just a much more refined sound, a much more refined version of the sound that Hollywood had. Like, this is what we probably could have expected, or something very similar to it, if Manson had kept going down that same style, but worked on it and built off of it, instead of going down the direction of the Golden Age of Grotesque. It is just such a great, it really just goes to show you how good Manson's writing skills are just from a musical standpoint, from a composition standpoint, from a lyrical standpoint. This album, or not this album, I mean this album, but this song was such a fantastic choice for a comeback song that I don't think any other song on this album would have been able to do what this song was capable of doing, which makes it such a great song overall. I mean, there's a lot of self-reflection in here especially on this song, which I do appreciate and I do enjoy a lot, such as you know, a reason for me to get by became a need to get high. That line in particular always stuck out to me. And I know it's part of the chorus. Or actually, no, it's part of the pre-chorus, my bad. This line is so powerful, in my opinion, because it really just shows you how far down the rabbit hole Manson really, really was. Like, we saw him with his live shows. We knew, oh, damn, that guy's really fucked up. But this song really, or like these lyrics, that line in particular really just proved to me, like, damn, he really was going off the deep end. We knew it, but we couldn't confirm it. Like, this line pretty much just says, you know, he'd been using drugs to mask the like vapid, the hollow emptiness he had in his life, the things that meant nothing to him. He was just existing for existence sake. There was no ambition. There was no purpose. It was just, I exist. This is how I get through the day. That's it. There was no vision. There was nothing to work towards. Yes, he was making music and writing albums, touring, things of that nature, but clearly that wasn't filling the void. There was something else there, or there was nothing there that he could do to fill that void, and drugs are probably the only thing that made him forget about it, or at least make the everyday tolerable. But you know, as drugs are, they're addictive. The more you're on them, the more you need. And it's really crazy to actually like get that confirmation, like, oh geez, guys, we could have witnessed the end of him. Because I mean, it's I mean, you see how he is now, with physically how he looks. He is so much healthier, sober, and everything like that. He looks like early 2000s Manson again. And it's crazy to think, because, you know, for the last 15 to 18 years, he's been, actually, no, longer than that, actually, probably 20 years. Yeah, 2004. Yeah, so for about 20 years now, he had been looking pretty, not so good. But, you know, as sick as the Secrets Within, a fantastic song through and through, and a ridiculously fantastic return to form and comeback song. It's so good. Next song, Sacrilegious. This is the middle of the album. This song is where the album really starts to show a stylistic change. I could see this song fitting more on the Born Villain, Pale Emperor, or Heaven Upside Down eras of his music. When this song released as a single, I wasn't blown away by it. I didn't hate it, but to me, it didn't feel like a single. But it really does shine its way through as, again, a part of the whole, it is part of the art. From start to finish, it fits its place and it does a fantastic job. I see why it was released, though, because, you know, as the last single before the album was released, what really, really makes it stand out, and why I understand, what makes me understand why they chose it as their song, was for two reasons. One, to show the stylistic differences. You know, you had stuff with As Sick as the Secrets Within, Raise the Red Flag, and then we had Sacrilegious. It showed a nice variety. I understand that. But the other reason why I understand why this song was released as a single, and what made it powerful as a single, as a statement for, just in general, for Manson and his career as a musician, was literally the last lines of the song. I'm coming back, baby. You know, this is him this is his triumphant return, right? This is his statement to the world like, I'm here, I'm back, and I'm here to basically just take everything over. This is my world again. You're all going to listen to me. Like, this is the Antichrist superstar saying that he's back. You know, Pepper Ridge Farms remembers the Antichrist superstar. So does he now. It's proven. But also that Manson, the person behind the facade, behind the name, is back. He's sober. He's ready to reclaim his throne kind of situation, you know? He crawled out of hell, and this is his return, which is what makes the ending of that song so triumphant and so celebratory. You know, like, this is, I'm back, let's do this. So in the grand scheme of things, while it wasn't my favorite single, it absolutely is a very, very powerful song, and it deserves its spot on this album, absolutely. Now to song number 6, Death is Not a Costume. This song easily, as soon as I heard it, the same thing with One Assassination Under God, this song immediately got into my top 3 favorite songs off this album. Not even an argument. It actually kicked out another one that would have been in my top 3. That was previously in my top 3 out of the singles. This song is just, I mean, oh my God. It really just harkens back to the Antichrist superstar era as well. You got that little vocoder right in the beginning, but then just it almost gives me a bit of a Tourniquet vibe. I don't know if anybody else got that same opinion or like that same feeling when listening to the album, but it is very, very good. The chorus, the melody, the vocals are all phenomenal. He really, really nailed that. Like, it knocked it out of the park without a question. That was a first time listen, forever going to love that song. It was so good, and it's so well done that I have nothing to complain about. I would listen to this song, and I have been listening to this song on repeat for like I could listen to this for the next year and never get bored of it. It's so good. You know, you get where is it? Yeah, you get lines like or lyrics particularly like, it's not a costume, it's not how I wanted to die, and I'll break your sunshine to scare my shadow away. Now, the way at least I interpreted these was Manson talking about his dark past, both as an addict and just with his stage persona that had consumed him previously, which is why he wanted to distance himself. He became a costume of himself, similar to what I was talking about with, where was it? Sick is the Secrets Within. Was it Sick is the Secrets? Oh, my bad. It may have been. No, my bad. It was No Funeral Without Applause. But he really just, the song just really makes you understand, like, hey, death is not a costume. Like, when I'm dead, I'm dead. What I'm pretending to be in life is a costume. I don't want to be known for that, essentially, when I die. I don't want to be known as that when I die. And that could be talking about his dark past. That could be talking about what he will become. There's a lot of nuances to the understanding of what these lyrics mean that give it such depth, which is probably one of the reasons why I love going back to it more. Minus, I mean, obviously the chorus is really, really catchy, but but lyrically it is so broad, it's so abstract that there's so many different things that you could pull out of this. I mean, it literally took me like 10 minutes and with coming up with a bunch of different ideas to just settle on like, okay, I think that this is the one. Or I think this is the interpretation I'll go with for this review. There's so many ways to interpret this song in particular, which is probably one of the reasons why it is such a good song to begin with. Meet Me in Purgatory. Now, this song falls into the same boat, I'd say, as Sacrilegious. Both have similar influences and sounds. Like, again, I could see this one in particular, Meet Me in Purgatory. I could definitely see this being on a, what was it? The Pale Emperor, or maybe even on Heaven Upside Down, but definitely the Pale Emperor. It really has that same kind of vibe going for it. Almost a little bit of, how do I say it? Almost a little bit of a third day of a 7-day binge, but if it was a little bit more electronic. That's kind of what the feel I got out of this song, personally. You got lyrics like, will you stay by my side or will you stand in their way? What will you do when they come to murder me? This is also at the very tail end of the song, but it's this poignant question that feels directed more so at like the fan base. It can be directed at people who are listening, but more so the fan base itself. It seems to me. It's just like, are you willing to die for something, even if it's just safer to stand by and watch it unfold? Even like, so even for instance, to elaborate on that. So even if you know that things are going to go one direction, let's just in a certain direction, let's say it's a positive outcome for you, right? Do you intervene to make that sure that happens, or do you stay off and just say it's going to happen anyways? Because if the outcome is irrelevant, then that just kind of boils down to, what kind of person are you? Are you somebody who's going to fight for that belief, even if the outcome is already predetermined to be in your favor? Or are you just going to stand by and say like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's going to happen anyways. I'm going to get it. Doesn't matter. Because then at that point, it's a matter of going back to the song name, Meet Me in Purgatory. You are literally just, you're stuck in limbo. You don't, like, where are you going? We don't know. But that's also a great kind of sentiment to Manson as a whole, with what a lot of the stuff that's been going on, him now releasing music again. It's kind of like, where are we going for, like, where do we go from here? Where is this going? This ride I do have planned for you, but I don't know where it's going to go exactly either. But also, I don't know how long this ride's going to last for. Which really makes this song, in my opinion, stand out as, again, it's a very poignant part of the album lyrically that just kind of makes you think, okay, is there something, I would die for? Is there something I would, even if it meant, like I said, even if the outcome was already predetermined to be positive for me, is this good for the player? But is this good for, like, will I be that person to fight for something that I believe in, no matter the outcome? And that's always a very interesting thing to ask yourself as a person, just introspectively. Like, everybody says they'd be the first person to jump in front of a bullet. Well, some people might inherently say no, but everyone will be that first person to say, I'd take a bullet for you. But then when the time comes, they never would, kind of situation. So it's an interesting question to ask anybody, really. Going on to song number 8, Raise the Red Flag, the second single released off of this album. When I heard this song, again, I was grinning ear to ear. However, this did lose its top 3 for me on this album. It got pushed out by Death Is Not a Costume, just because I really, really enjoyed Death Is Not a Costume. However, Raise the Red Flag, so good. Another one of the best songs off of this album, and that like really showcases what this album has to offer the listener. Incredibly catchy chorus. show like this shows the energy of a lot of the older stuff, but with an older Manson helming the microphone. So we're not going to get anything like uh what was it? We're not going to get anything like uh or what is it? Oh geez, I can't remember the name, but Reflecting God. We're not going to get anything like Scabbed Wings, uh Irresponsible Hate Anthem. We're not going to get anything of that nature. We're never going to get like a love song again, probably. Oh, and what I'm talking about is a lot of like the screamier songs. Like, yes, he's doing it, but even if you listen to a lot of this album, it's either layered or it's like one pivotal part of the album that then sticks out to make that happen. Like where it's just like a word or like a phrase and then that's it. But he's not going to be screaming like he used to scream before. This song is the perfect blend of what Manson was during, the late 90s or just the 90s and the early 2000s, mixed with the more what's I'm looking for? Intentional, the more methodical and strategic vocalist that Manson became, especially over his past 3 albums, starting with The Pale Emperor, Heaven Upside Down, We Are Chaos. He's really choosing sections where it would be the most impactful with the music to do stuff like that. But this song holds the energy, which gives it that old school feel, which is really, really cool to hear again. The song itself, at least my interpretation of it, is a massive fuck you to everyone that essentially is trying to cancel him, trying to do all that stuff, like, saying everything against him, constantly slandering him and saying all this stuff. You got lyrics particularly that say stuff that really pointed out, like, I don't give a fuck if you say you're sorry. I won't accept your surrender. It's time to beat up the bullies and wash the bullseye off my back. Like right then and there, it comes across as a threat. You've got other lyrics like, what was it? My red flag's your white one soaked in blood, which can also further the idea that it is it's a threat in a sense of like, you came for me. Like if you're gonna come for me, you better do it right the first time. Otherwise, I'm gonna come after you, and I am not stopping. Like, he's not taking any prisoners. He's coming for blood, and he's going to make sure that he gets every last drop of it. You get other lyrics off of the song like, cadaver dogs already know your name. Why pretend in a room full of fakes? Something made up for idiots to praise. Losers love liars till their dying day. Like, I mean, that's just another fantastic, not only lyrically, because there's so much to dive into just with that and like really interpret, especially with the cadaver dogs. I still want to know what that's about. Don't exactly understand that. Maybe like puppet dogs, probably. Anyways, but yeah, this lyric, just from initial interpretation, what I've interpreted from it since I first listened to the song was, he's done with all the fake people around him, all the people who said, oh yeah, I got your back. Things go bad, and then they all just disappear. There's no one there for you, kind of situation. And then just in the world in general, fans, same way, like people who just immediately, they hear one bad thing about them and now all of a sudden, no, I'm done, without any kind of, like, with nothing, really. There's nothing to say otherwise. I mean, as far as legally, case is still going on, but I'm still waiting to hear answers on whether or not what the hell happens with that. But clearly he has his side of the story, which is not only going through court, but also going through his music right here in particular. You've got something in particular with the secondary line of that those lyrics I wrote. What was it? Something made up for idiots to praise. Losers love liars till their dying day. Basically, he's just calling out all the people who believe anything. Oh, I read it in a magazine. I read it on the internet, or more particular, I read it on the internet. I saw it on Twitter, and all of a sudden, that's what they're rolling with. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's been said. It's in stone. That's it. Sucks to be you. He's basically saying, you're all a bunch of idiots, and you're going to be on the wrong side of history, but you also won't accept that you're wrong when you are proven wrong, which is it's kind of funny because this kind of points out to the same exact thing. He's not wrong, because this barring his case and his what's going on with that, a great side-by-side comparison to this is the Johnny Depp trial. That man was thrown through the ringer, dragged through the mud, everything you could think of, and come to find out, it's proven in court unanimously that she slandered the hell out of him. She lied. Now, I'm not going to go into depth about that whole thing, but even after proven not only in the judicial court, but in the court of the public, Johnny Depp was innocent. He is, or I shouldn't say was, he is innocent. 99.9% of the entire population believes that he is innocent, but there's still that one small percent of people who are saying that Amber Heard was not lying and that she was telling the truth and that yada, 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 yada. Even though they were proven wrong, they still won't admit that they were wrong, because it's easier to lie to yourself than take a moment of introspection and say, hey, I was wrong. Why did I believe this? I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Maybe I should do ABCXYZ, right? None of that. So this is a really, really great parallel in the vice versa way of that as well. Like, this is a great parallel to Manson's case and what he's going through and things of that nature. Like, we'll have to see what's happening. But again, as far as his side of the story is concerned, he is here to say fuck you and prove to everybody that you're all wrong and that you're on the wrong side of history. So until that time, until that day, it's a banger ass song. Now for the final song on the album, Sacrifice of the Mass. This is a really, really powerful and cathartic ending to the album that beautifully connects to the beginning of the album again. When you listen to it, the album on repeat from start to finish, and it flows so well right back into the beginning. And I love when albums do that, because then that gives a sense of the stories come together. Like it wraps up nicely. Like, you can listen to these back to back, or this album back to back, and it will still feel like you're just, it's like watching a movie almost. It's so no, I shouldn't say refreshing. Enjoyable when an artist takes the time to understand that people aren't just going to listen to the album all the way through. Because I found out I'm in a very giant minority. Well, I shouldn't say giant minority. I'm in a very small minority of people who actually like to listen to albums from start to finish. I don't necessarily like to just pick a song and that's it. So I thoroughly enjoy when artists give people like me that little nod of like, here you go. You can get to, like, it all connects. There is a connection between the ending and the beginning, that everything comes full circle. It's really appreciated. But the song really leaves its impact when its runtime is finished. Like I said, it's just such a cathartic song with the composition, having the acoustic guitar be prevalent, even though there's bass, there's drums, and all that stuff really starts to amp up towards the end of the song itself. But there's something about that acoustic being used throughout the song that almost keeps the song feeling like it's naked almost. There's a sense of vulnerability to the song, which perfectly plays into the theme of the song. That, I mean, it's showered all over it. The song really just talks a lot about mortality itself, or at least how I'm interpreting it. You know, you've got lyrics like, where is it? Lay your head against my heart. Can you feel me fading? The first burial that I've been to. Tell the abyss to stop staring at me. This is, at least how I'm interpreting this, this is Manson really coming to understand the limits of his own mortality and his own life as he approaches like death, essentially, as he's getting older. But he doesn't want to think about it. Like, tell the Reaper to come back later at a time when I don't think he's going to be there. Just, you know, let me live in let me live in ignorance so that I can have my bliss, kind of situation. And that's something, I mean, a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people. That's something everybody has to face. You know, the only thing that is certain in life are death and taxes. And I think another one of the lyrics as well was like something along the lines of, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Something, I believe it was like that. I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. I don't have it written down. But that exactly just proves it. Like, being born is a gift, but it's also finite. It will run out. The only thing that is constant in life is death. And you know, the blood of the covenant, like, you will eventually go back. You're going to go into the ground. That's going to happen no matter what. And that's such a dark thing to have to think about, but it's also something that, you know, you can't really ignore, because we're always surrounded by it. You got other things, other lines in particular, like, the greater the star, the more violent its demise. You know, this is a perfect, or at least, yeah, I'd say this is a perfect simile to the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Manson is kind of just acknowledging the spectacle that is his life and that he has become. And he's just kind of given into it. And it's not necessarily a matter of he's accepted it, or maybe he has in some regard, but it's more so a matter of, like, he's going to stop fighting the current. He's just going to go with it because this is what he is. Again, like, harkening back to, which one was it? No Funeral Without Applause. Like, you're the only thing in this fucking world that can fill this hole inside of me. And my interpretation of that was him becoming the Antichrist again. Like, that's the only thing where he feels like himself. And it's just this duality in himself where he has to fight between what he wants and what he knows he is. And the more spotlight that Manson takes up, the more it will ultimately destroy him. But the more that Brian comes to the forefront, the less happy he becomes and the more he spirals out of control. So he's burning the candle at both ends, and it's just a matter of which end is going to be the last one lit, essentially. But Sacrifice of the Mass is a really, really great song. Fantastic closer to the album. Honestly, there's no other song on this album that would have done its job better than this. And, you know, maybe that was the intention right off rip, but it's so good. It's fantastic. Definitely worth the listen. My rating for this album, I would absolutely give this a 9.7 out of 10. And now I know why everyone's going to be like, why 9.7? Why not just a 10? It's already there. What, blah, 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 blah. Nothing's perfect. Nothing's actually a 10. If it's above, I'd say a 9.5 for me. That's It's basically as close to perfect as perfect can get. It's such a great album that honestly, it wasn't even a hesitation when I listened to it. That like 9.7 was the first thing that came to my mind as soon as I finished listening to this. I was absolutely worth it. Before this album was released, Manson stated that the world tried to cancel him 20 years ago, and then he wrote or 25 years ago, and he wrote an album called Hollywood, right? This album did not disappoint at all. Like, this harkens back to the old Manson from the Antichrist Superstar, Mechanical Animals, Hollywood eras of his discography. And in my opinion, it does an incredibly fantastic job that even rivals them. And in some instances, I could say is better than Hollywood, in my opinion. And the reason why I'd say it's better than Hollywood is this album feels like a more refined version of Hollywood's sound, with all the best influences from his works between the Golden Age of Grotesque and We Are Chaos being kind of just, like sprinkled in at certain moments to give certain songs more defining characteristics as a whole. This album does an incredible job of showing that when Manson is under the gun is when his best work will come to the surface. Kind of like, enough pressure will create a diamond thing. This album was so unexpected to be like, I was not expecting this album to be nearly as good as it was. The singles were great, but I was just expecting the singles to be like the best of the best, and then the rest of the album would grow on me. It's crazy to think that there are other songs on this album that could have been singles as well, in my opinion, that I immediately listened to and said, yes, this is fantastic. I'm going to listen to this forever. There are not enough words to describe just how great this album is, in my opinion. And I genuinely, like I said, I do think that in some instances, this album does outdo Hollywood itself. I think he did what he set out to do. He not only made something like Hollywood, I think he made something better than Hollywood. I'm thoroughly looking forward to the next chapters in this. I heard there's 3. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm looking forward to chapter 2 and 3. And in my opinion, I think we may be witnessing Manson making his magnum opus. This might be his, his final send-off, his swan song, this entire One Assassination Under God trilogy. It's going to be, if this is what we can expect, and it's going to, if it keeps this exact same amount of momentum going, this man is going to be unstoppable. I think he genuinely might outdo any of his previous work. And he's what, 30 something years into his career? That is impressive and also unprecedented, which is incredible. So I'm excited. I hope everybody else who is listening to this album and anybody who watches this is also excited. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of the album. Like the video if you enjoyed, and I will catch you all on the next review whenever something else that I actually enjoy comes out. Bye, guys.